All right, here we go. Roger Bonds, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Salute, General, salute.
Man, the last interview was massive.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. People still hit you about that like pretty much every day, yeah?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. They said, yo, did you get your money for that interview? I said, yeah, we good. We good.
That's right. That's right. Well, the trial has started. Because last time he had been arrested, he was facing trial, but now the trial has started. Now, have you been called to testify?
No, I haven't.
Okay. But didn't the feds reach out to your lawyer at one point?
I'm not even sure. The lawyer said that they would get back in touch with me and if anything was anything, and they never got back in touch with me about anything.
Okay, but they did touch base with your lawyer at one point.
I know either they touch bases or my lawyer touch bases. I know they did touch bases.
Got it. If they called you and asked you to testify, would you do it?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm always going to stand up for what's right. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if they call me to testify, I'm not going to not testify. If you call me to testify, I'm going to testify. Now, whether I plead the fifth or whatever, I'm going to go and I'm going to testify.
Got it. Well, from what I understand, a lot of the people who are testifying are given immunity because they potentially are part of some of these crimes and so forth.
Right.
In one way or another. So, a bunch of the witnesses have immunity. So if they gave you immunity, would you be down to basically say everything?
I'm going to tell you the truth, man. A lot of these things that they talking about, a lot of stuff that they talking about, like when they talk about D-Rock running in the Suge Knight, when they talk about some of the stuff, I've just, by the grace of God, was either off that day or either was in New York that day, and I would hear about those things when I got back. So I think it was like, God giving me a blessing not to be there or be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't have no problem testifying about what I played a part in because I feel like I was an employee, period. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. That wasn't my man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he ran a company, a Fortune 500 company. It wasn't like he ran no gangster company. He ran a Fortune 5 company, and I was happy to be a part of it.
I mean, would you say by the end of your time there that you and Puffy were friends?
Yeah, I would. I say that. But now when I look back on it, he don't have no friends. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real, like some people be like, nah, because you could think something is something that is really not. You know what I'm saying? And I thought we was friends. I thought at the end of the night, you know what I'm saying, when he'd be like, yo, I am my brother's keeper, at the end of the night, when he say I love you and you say, yo, I love you back, when you part of the streets, you take that to heart. But when you mastered the business, you realize that's part of the business. You know what I'm saying? And I think he mastered the business. He tell you what you want to hear. He tell you how to get the best work out of you, how to push you and everything else. And he knows those type of things is what's going to push you and make you basically do anything that he asks. You know what I'm saying? And, that's how I look at it now.
Well, like I said, the trial is starting and Diddy is facing life in prison.
Right.
He is charged with racketeering, which includes kidnapping.
Right.
Sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. He was trying to get bail multiple times, at one point putting up as much as $15 million, and he was denied each and every time. A bunch of stuff was seized from his home. Of course, there was all the baby oil and, the dildos, and there was some rope. There was rope that I found and lingerie, but they did find some guns.
Right.
They found a semi-automatic AR-15 with magazines loaded with bullets. Some of the guns had like red dots on them, like the laser sights, which is not common for these types of rifles. But there's also a couple guns that had the serial numbers scratched off.
Right.
Why do you think Puff had all those guns, some of which are essentially illegal? You're not allowed to scratch off a serial number.
Right.
That's a Fed case in and of itself.
Right.
I almost feel like if this doesn't go through, he'll get a superseding indictment for that gun.
Right.
Or those couple of guns. Why did Puff have those types of guns around, you think?
I don't know, because back in 2012, 2006, 2003. He ain't have none of that shit. He ain't have none of that. So I don't know what happened to maybe the billionaire status got to him, maybe the drugs got to him, maybe the fear got to him. But when you got that type of money, you don't really need to have that type of stuff because you pay people to be around you that's legal to have that type of stuff. So I think it was something mentally wrong with him, yo.
Wait, but did Puff have 24-hour security?
Yeah, 24 hours.
Okay, so once you left, there was someone else to take over.
I never left.
Yeah, but you have to sleep.
That's when he sleep. I sleep when he sleep.
So while he's sleeping, there's nobody awake to protect him.
Nah, he's behind a gate. He's behind a gate. Every house got gates.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you go to the Miami house, well, where I stayed at was the guest house. So the guest house, my window was right over the gate. So if you ring that bell, my phone would ring. And I could look right out my window and see who's at the front gate. And then I'm going to get on the PA system, yo, such and such is at the front gate. Or I'm going to answer it myself. Yo, who's this? Or this says, oh, this might be, let's say for instance, yo, this Dallas or something like that. Okay, cool, like that. So, you know, there's no way. And even if you in a boat, you could ride up on the house in a boat. You know, that has happened a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? So I had to run out to where the boats or the jet skis is at. You know, it's just some regular random person and some rich person and pulled up on their boat. Yo, I heard this was Puff out. You know, that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was 24-hour security. I lived there. You know, all the everyday security lived there. You know what I'm saying?
It's not like, okay, end of the night, I'm going to go to sleep, you go home, I'll see you tomorrow. No, you actually slept at the house.
Right.
Every time. Oh, wow. So you never really went home while you were working for Puff?
Nah. What we did was if we was out of town, I would work. And then when we got back to New York, somebody else would work. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time it was Paulie or whoever wasn't with me out of there. Sometimes we took times. You know, sometimes if he stay out there for 3 weeks or a month, I might be like, yo, I got to go home. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise than that, you know, I did my thing. Like if I went to the club or if I met somebody and spent the night with him or something like that, I hit him and be like, yo, I ain't coming. You going out? He'd be like, nah, I ain't going out. As long as he's staying home, you got the green light to go do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
He only going to hit you if he say, yo, I'm getting ready to get out of here.
Well, the trial has started, and in the very beginning, the sex workers were called. Well, one sex worker in particular, the Punisher.
Oh, yeah.
You actually know this guy.
He from Harlem. He from Harlem. You know, we all from Harlem. You know, Puff went local. Puff went local.
You said you were surprised that he used a local guy for this type of activity.
Yeah, because people talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised that, and Punisher must be one of those type of guys that don't talk because we never heard of nothing like that. You know, and he right from 39th Street, 40th Street. So, you know, I'm from 49th Street. I'm from 55th Street. So everybody is around the same way. So not to hear about it, then he really kept his mouth shut about it. That's why I was shocked because back in the days, Punisher had a name. You know what I'm saying? He had a real big name when it came to the stripping and stuff like that. So everybody knew who the Punisher was. So I was surprised he went local.
Yeah, he's actually coming here right after you. We're doing an interview with him.
Right? Yeah, let's not be here together. You don't want no rumors.
Yeah, and he said that right around 2012, he was contacted by Cassie. I guess he had a website called Get Punished.
Okay. See, that was 2012. That was when I left, so I never got a chance to see him.
Yeah. So basically, she reached out and said her and her husband want to create some sexy scenes. He didn't know who she was. He showed up. Diddy had a veil over his face.
Right.
And they engaged in sexual activity. She said Cassie seemed very comfortable.
Right.
You know, she didn't seem like she was forced. You know, they would use huge amounts of baby oil.
Right.
And Diddy would just have a veil. Yeah, an Astroglide. Diddy would have a veil over his face and be naked from the neck down.
Wow.
But then after a while, he realized it was Puff. So he said after that, he would just wear a Yankees hat.
Okay, so he knew it was him.
He knew it was him.
Okay.
Yeah. And, she said that, he said that basically during after the first encounter, Cassie made it clear she was doing this for Diddy. He said Diddy never act jealous while they were together. They would meet up in high-end hotels. There was a whole bunch of times, I think like 8 to 12 times they would meet up.
He must have did his job good.
He did his job, I guess. Yeah, 8 to 12 encounters. Diddy would give him directions. He would tell Cassie what to do and so forth. He said he never saw any affection between the two, and he would get about $2,000, for every situation.
Okay.
He said there was no sexual interaction between him and Diddy.
Okay.
Diddy just watched and pleasured himself.
Well, I definitely know some women that Punisher was with, so I never thought that he went that way. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely know he was smashing a lot of bras.
Well, and he even said that he didn't feel like he was trafficked. He was down to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting paid to have sex with Cassie. That's not really a bad job. Most of us would do it for free.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people would do it for free.
Exactly. So, and he even said, he goes, I don't know. I don't think I'm benefiting the defense or the prosecution. They asked me to come in, so I'm coming in. Did you personally know him? Like, did you guys have conversations and so forth?
Nah, we never had no conversations.
You just know of him?
Yeah.
Well, when they showed all the male escorts, there was another guy that you knew.
Oh, yeah, Greg. Yeah.
Right. So, did you know Greg personally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Greg was one of the young dudes that was hanging out in Miami a lot. If I'm not mistaken, he from Miami.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Puffer hit me and be like, yo, you know Greg? Yeah, I know Greg. Yo, can you get him in the club tonight? All right, I got you. Because I used to have to do what they call advances before Puff come to the club. Mm-hmm. So he'd be like, yo, can you grab Greg outside? And I used to be like, oh, I ain't know what the tie was between him and Greg, but I ain't really think of it because, this dude is one of them dudes that don't get no hair on his face or nothing like that. And then we talking about 2000 and maybe 8 or 9. Mm. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't know how old Greg was. I just knew he was a young dude. And it was a couple of times where we even went like to Atlanta or something like that. And like I said, I would have the adjoining room to Puff and Cassie. But a couple of times it was like, nah, you ain't got that room. Now, what you mean I ain't got that room? Nah, you down the hall. And I might see Greg. And I'll be like, yo, what the fuck they got going on? But I ain't never really paid no attention to. I seen all the pictures of the escorts last week. And I said, oh shit, there go Greg. This little dude was the escort. And I never knew that though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of wild stuff happened in those rooms. I guess various escorts would pee in Cassie's mouth.
Yeah, I heard about that, man.
Said she would get like sores in her mouth and stuff like that.
And that's crazy because, that was wifey, yo. And when I say wifey, I mean like that was somebody who you felt like, you see them kissing all the time. You see them at the kitchen table. You see like I'm thinking something, like once I read all that stuff and seen all that stuff, I said something mentally wrong with him because I'm not kissing all over her and doing all this other stuff if I know I got her doing this and that. So you just nasty.
I mean, when you saw them together, did they both seem in love?
I mean, it depends on what you seeing. Yeah, I seen some happy times. Can't nobody say they ain't seen no happy times. But it's times that I also seen Cassie look like she was drifting off. You know what I'm saying? Look like she was sad. You know what I'm saying? Look like she had a lot on her mind. You know what I'm saying? And when you're dealing with Diddy, you don't know who's real and who's not. Because everybody is playing a role to be liked by this man. A role to act like they good. Like if he say a corny ass joke, everybody gonna laugh and shit like that. So you don't know what's real and what's not. But it's definitely times that I seen her look like she was really, really sad. She wanted her career. She wanted her career, and I feel like she just didn't want to disappoint him in any type of way, form, or fashion because it was still that chance that he would give it to her.
I know someone that knows both of them. And I remember I had a conversation with him. This was an off-the-record conversation, so I'm not going to say who it is. But this guy told me that when him and Cassie were together, just the two of them, and they were just friends, right? There was nothing going on, that she would always say, hey, convince your friend Puffy to marry me because I just want to get married. Like, I'm tired of just being this girlfriend. Like, convince him to marry me. And he'd be, okay, cool, I'll talk to him. And from what I understand, she really wanted to marry him.
Oh, no question. I remember one time we was in the Hamptons and he pulled me out and he said, yo, man, shorty putting pressure on me. I said, what she putting pressure on you for? He said, man, she putting pressure on me to get married, da-da-da-da. He said, man, but it's between her and Kim. You know what I'm saying? And I kept it all the way 100 with him. I said, yo, you been with shorty a long time. You know what I'm saying? You care about shorty? He said, yeah. I said, but you been with Kim a long time too, and she got them kids. You know what I'm saying? I think you should get with Kim. And it was funny because like a week or two later, Cassie said, Barnes, I heard you. And I said, yo, you heard what? She said, yeah, Puff butt dialed me when he asked you that question and you answered him. She said, but I ain't upset. I ain't mad. I understand. And I said, damn, man. I said, damn, this nigga don't do nothing right, man. I said, you know, I kind of felt kind of funny around her after that because she had heard my response, but it was a true response. You know what I'm saying?
Was Cassie ever pregnant?
I don't know. I heard rumors, you know what I'm saying, around the office that she was. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things was the type of things that she would take care or she would do on a vacation or when yo, where Cassie at? Oh, she went away with her girlfriends for a couple of days. So, you know, and I wasn't one to really pry into certain things. So I would, but from what I heard, allegedly she was.
And she got an abortion?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
That's weird because Puff got a gang of kids already. In fact, he had one not too long ago.
Yeah.
Clearly he doesn't have a vasectomy. You know what I mean? And seems like he likes his kids. Takes care of them, loves them, supports them. He's not a deadbeat dad by any stretch of the imagination. So if you're with this girl for this long, why not have your baby?
Because you know what you got that girl doing. And in the back of your mind, you can't have no baby by a girl that you got drinking pee and doing all type of shit. You know, and like, and I'm being real with you. Like, you know, some of these other girls, from what I hear, the last baby mother is into the tech world and stuff like that. Kim is already old school. You done been with her forever. You know what I'm saying? Sarah, you done been with forever, ever. You know what I'm saying? So Cassie was a young girl that you could manipulate and do whatever. So if I could get her pregnant and then tell her that she got to get an abortion and she listened, then I feel like that he was going to do that. Because at the end of the day, I feel like even some of the beatings that she got was a mental thing in his head playing back the things that he had her doing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was one of the main reasons that he didn't let her have a baby, was because of what he was doing to her.
Well, when Cassie took the stand, she gave some really crazy details. And I think the craziest part, which most people talked about, was she would say that dudes would like bust on her chest, and then she would go to Diddy and rub cum on his nipples.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that. Yeah.
You know what I said? When I heard that, I said, Puff can never win an argument with a man ever again. Because, you know, if y'all start arguing, all the guy has to say is, well, I didn't rub a dude's cum on my nipples.
Yeah. I was saying,
how do you respond to that?
No, that's what I'm saying. He got to go back to jail now. So I'm saying to myself, like, what is you saying to these dudes back here? How is you looking at them? You still Puff. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was crazy. That was from that. And then she said something about he would make her drink the cum and then go kiss him and do stuff like that.
Wait, he did that?
Yeah, that's what they said. You know,
that's called, I know what that's called. It's called a snowball.
Is it?
Yeah, if a dude, this is like a porn term. Like,
Okay.
Not the kind of porn I watch, mind you,
Okay.
but I've just heard about this before. It's like you know, like cuckold type porn.
Okay.
Like dudes would come in a girl's mouth and she would like not swallow, then go kiss the cuckold and kind of spit the cum in his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing. A cuckold thing.
Okay.
Definitely not my thing.
Yeah, that's
definitely
crazy
not
right
my
there.
thing.
I'm trying to identify with the nut on your nipples. What is that doing?
I don't know, man.
You know?
But here's the thing, right? And I've said this. With everyone taking the stand, these are people that were really around Puff. These are escorts. This is Cassie, you know, so forth and so forth. Right. You see all this stuff that's gay-ish, right? Rubbing a dude's cum on your nipples is gay-ish. But no one has said, and then Puffy got head from a dude. Even the Punisher dude said, me and Puffy had no interactions. Right? Cassie could easily said, yeah, then Diddy got his back blown out by one of the escorts. Or, whatever, the other way around.
Right.
Nobody has ever said this. Now, he could be doing those things with like a guy that no one knows about, but you're around all the time.
Right.
Do you think Puffy is gay or bisexual? Or do you think that he just likes this weird shit that kind of like dances around the line of it?
I mean, it depends on what you say bisexual is, because I'm definitely going to say all that shit that she said is bisexual.
It's bisexual-ish.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, like, I just think it's different than actually doing something with the man.
So you asking me if I think he been penetrated or something?
Or he's gotten head from a dude. Because there's been lawsuits that allege this.
Right.
But the thing is, though, right, and because I try to be fair. I'm not just throwing anyone under the bus.
Right.
I remember I talked to a lawyer that was close to the situation.
Okay.
And what he said was interesting. He said, look, there's like 100 lawsuits against Puff. You don't think the feds look through every single lawsuit to try to pull in, the people into this actual case? None of those lawsuits included people in this Fed case, which makes me think that a lot of those allegations are just nonsense or just completely unprovable.
Right.
So it's a lot different to file a civil lawsuit than to actually take the stand, take the oath, and then lie, and then potentially go thrown in jail for perjury. Right. So do you think that Puff was actually doing really gay stuff with a man? Getting penetrated, getting head from a man, like...
Myself, I don't think so, because it's like what you said. I think somebody would step with everybody stepping up the way that they is now.
That's what I'm saying.
I believe somebody would say, and we all know, we all know the bisexual men, we all know the gay men love to scream and tell somebody, yeah, you think you all that, this is what happened.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying, for that not to happen, I don't think he was.
That's what I'm saying.
I think he just I can't even say he's a freak. He's more than a freak. You know what I'm saying? I think he's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, look, if someone tells me, like yourself, is rubbing cum on some other dude's cum on her nipples gay, I think it's gay. I'm not going to argue with you, say, no, that's not gay. Right. I'm just saying that there's different levels to this. And once you cross the line of actually doing things with the man themselves,
right, that
to me is, okay, you're actually gay. You actually like physical, intimacy with a male.
Right.
And I just feel like there's always been a woman involved. And like the Punisher said, he never did anything with Puff. Puff was just there in the corner.
Right.
And
Cassie said a lot of the stuff that they did in another room. You know what I'm saying? That she would go in the other room. So I think that he didn't want the guy to see that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And this, that, and other. So I think it might have just been some type of free. I want my girl to do this, We freak and we turn it out. Some people get turning a person out turns them on. So I think by him turning her out that it turned them on.
Now, was Kim Porter doing freak-offs as well?
I have no idea, but what I would say is all the evidence, all the hotel runs, because the same thing I did with Cassie, I did with Kim.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? I would take them to the hotels. I would he might hit me and say, yo, can you run and get me some baby oil and some Astroglide from CVS?
How would you feel when you're going on baby oil runs?
I'm gonna be real with you.
How was the most amount of baby oil or Astroglide that you buy at one time?
2 bottles.
That's it?
2 bottles
oh, okay.
and 2 bottles.
They bought 1,000 bottles.
Yeah. I see. A lot of shit changed from 2011 to now, because I used to buy like 2 bottles. You know what I'm saying? Yo, just leave it in front of the door. You know what I'm saying? And I leave it in front of the hotel door, and as I walk down the elevator, I can hear the hotel door open, and somebody just grab it and pull it back in. You know what I'm saying? So 2 and 2 was the most. You know what I'm saying? So all the evidence that I would say goes towards, I would say she was having freak-offs, because I was doing the same drop-off for the weekend. They might stay 2-3 days, and he'd be like, yo, you off until I call you, but I'm probably going to call you Sunday. Sometime he'll call right that Sunday. Sometime he'd be like, nah, we staying for another day. So, allegedly it looked like, yeah.
Well, Albie Shore, who has a son with Kim Porter, that's Quincy, right?
Yeah.
Has kind of for a while, spoke about this conspiracy theory that Puffy has something to do with Kim Porter's death or something like that. I personally have never believed that. Do you think there's any truth in that at all?
I don't want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? But I also ain't know everything, all this stuff that's going on. So one thing I know that Puff loves is money more than anything in the world. You know what I'm saying? So with me not knowing all of this other stuff that was going on, I don't know mentally. Like mentally, I can't even see him doing half of the shit that they've proven that he's been doing. So in my mind, the way that I see him with the kids and the way I seen him with Kim and everything like that, I would say if somebody was to ask me, I would say no, he don't have nothing to do with it. But after everything that I've been seeing lately and everything that's going on, I don't want the media to sway me in one way or another. I would say no. But then if Kim was talking about threatening to come out with different things, I don't put that past him.
Well, during cross-examination, they showed text messages where Cassie was like, I'm always ready for a freak off. I love these freak offs. I'm whatever. Do you feel on some level that Cassie really enjoyed it and really liked it, and maybe certain times she didn't? To me, it doesn't seem like she was being forced every time.
Right.
What do you think, based on being around them?
I think it was drugs. You know what I'm saying? I think a certain amount of drugs gonna make you feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So and I think that's one of the things that we all hear is about the amount of drugs that they was doing. So you probably doing it to get to that point where you really don't care or you really do enjoy. So if I had to answer it, I would say depending on how much drugs they did, I think it was times that she really did enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? I think it was times that she actually didn't remember it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I remember one conversation, but I just had my ears open and I heard Puff say, yo, man, I don't remember that shit. I was high, yo. So when I hear about some of the stuff that they say and he say, yo, I didn't remember I was high, I know that some of that shit is true because I heard him say that shit before.
Now, 50 Cent's baby mother, Daphne Joy, was mentioned. And I know that she was hanging around Puff. Was that after you left?
Yeah, that was after.
So you never saw her?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah.
Got it.
Him and Puff always had that off and on type of situation. We almost had a fight at the MTV Awards and all that stuff.
Okay, so he mentions this. I remember I mentioned this to Tony Ayo when he was on my show last week.
Right.
So I guess at one point there was some sort of friction with 50 Cent, and it was at the MTV Awards.
Right.
And I guess they were talking, and Diddy was like, I don't like that all that back and forth stuff. I like guns.
Okay.
Do you remember that conversation?
I don't remember that conversation because him and 50 went off to the side, but I remember it was just me and Diddy there. And it was Yayo and a bunch of dudes from Queens sitting there, and it was 50, and Puff was like, yo, I'm just going to walk up on him and punch him in his face. And
wait.
Yeah.
Puff said he's going to walk up on 50 Cent and punch him in the face.
Yeah, he said, I'm just going to punch him in the face. And I said, yo, what are you talking about? He said, yo, ain't that your man? Ain't that your man? He said, man, go talk to your man. I said, yo, hold up, B, because he knew me and Yayo was tight.
Hold on.
Let me see
if I get Yayo on the phone real quick. Hold on a sec. I gotta hold on. This is too good. I try to get Yayo on the phone.
Yeah,
just to get his reaction to this.
So I try to talk some sense in Puff head because the other people that was around is just crash dummies. Whatever Puff say do, they do. Me, I'm thinking about the repercussions. So I said, no matter how tight me and Yayo is, you punch his man in the face, all of them niggas is getting up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just me and him. So I said, yo, B, you can't do that, man. I said, yo, it's just me and you here. He said, what, you scared? You scared? I said, nah, I ain't scared. I said, I'm just telling you like that don't make no sense. So him and 50 talked. And then after about 10 minutes of them talking, he said, all right, come on, yo, let's go. And then Yayo came up and me and him started talking. And he told Puff, yo, you know who you got with you? Da, da, da. He was like, yeah, I know. Woo, woo. And that was the end of that. Because that was like a conversation and a beef and a problem that was over my head. Yeah, it was there because we bumped into him. But I know that they talk on the phone all the time or they deal with stuff a different way. And then it was times when we got together and they act like they was hunky-dory. So I really didn't know what was going on with them. It was an off and on type thing.
Yeah. When I mentioned the whole gun thing to Tony Yayo, I don't like to go back and forth. I got guns. Tony was like, yeah, we were into guns too.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
We were ready for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have bulletproof trucks. After Diddy and 50 had been doing some press for MTV, Diddy told her that he was having some problems with 50 and that I like guns, in terms of dealing
well,
with it.
we like guns too. At that point, niggas would have got eradicated. It would, like, come on, bro. We have bulletproof trucks. Like, we like guns too. Like, when it come to 50 and us, we beef with the best of them. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I never had a friendship with Diddy. I never had a friendship with not too many people in the industry. So that's all I know. But at that point, like, in my 20s at that time, and still to now, like, I'm just keeping it real. I don't want to say anything crazy because the internet has been indicting people lately. So I don't want to say that crazy. But, like, I'm just like, if that would have been crazy for him. I think Diddy was just talking that day. I think he was just talking. I think he just wanted to look good because, come on, bro. No way.
I remember, remember how 50 of them used to wear the bulletproof vests on stage?
Yeah.
And so forth? I remember being in G-Unit offices. This was about maybe 2004 or so.
Okay.
And, I would show up with my camera. This was when I was a DJ and I was doing DVDs. And I remember Tony Yayo walks into G-Unit offices, takes off his jacket, and he had a bulletproof vest on, just walking around.
Right.
This is not a stage prop.
Right.
This is not for entertainment. Yayo was really wearing a vest.
Right. That's when they was beefing with Jimmy Henchman.
With Jimmy Henchman. Because remember, his Bentley got shot up.
Right.
So Yayo was like, oh, okay, he should have done that. We were ready for that.
Yeah. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Jimmy even told me that. Jimmy even said they not to be played with, Bonds. He said they not to be played with. And hearing that from him was a surprise to me.
I mean, look, I know 50, I'm not best friends with him, but we know each other. If Puff would have punched 50 in the face, 50 would have punched him right back.
Oh, no question.
Like 50's big also.
No question.
He's like my height, stocky, muscular.
And
I've seen him get
got
in
a
fights with
boxing
people.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what the hell was Puffy thinking saying that?
Puff go about, not him, he go about who he got around him.
So he felt you were going to handle that whole problem.
Yeah,
You're going to fight 10 guys by yourself.
He knew me and Yayo was tight. I guess he thought, Puff, I give that to Puff. When it comes to a fight game, he don't care. That ain't the only instance, I seen him jumping dudes 3 times his size face. You know what I'm saying? He'll fight you all day long. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't he slap Drake at one point?
Yeah, I wasn't there for that.
You weren't there, yeah.
I was finished, but they gave me the call the next day and said, yo, your man just smacked Drake. I'm like, huh?
So that was true?
Yeah, that was definitely true. At Liz.
And what happened exactly? Did they give you the details?
Nah, he said Puff seen him and he banged on his car window and then he jumped out and they was talking and he just smacked him. He smacked him over a record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, start from the bottom.
Yeah.
That beat. I guess Puff had that beat first and Drake took it or something.
But he said Puff didn't want the beat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then Puff is the type of person that when you make something hot off the beat, that was mine first. You know what I'm saying?
You're just being petty, baby.
It was that type. But he definitely smacked them.
Okay. Diddy's assistant, Capricorn Clark, took the stand.
Yeah. I seen
And she went into the whole Kid Cudi story.
Right.
Now, was Cudi recording with Cassie while you're still there?
Nah.
So all this happened afterwards?
Yeah, this happened afterwards.
Well, according to Capricorn, Cassie started to creep around with Kid Cudi behind his back. Capricorn was scared for Cassie, so she got her a burner phone. And at one point, when Cudi was with Cassie, I guess Puff found out about it. So he got Capricorn and his new security, Ruben.
Rube, yeah.
Rube is D-Rock's little man.
Right, he come from Junior Mafia.
Exactly. Did you know him personally?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did he choose Ruben as security for that point? Because he was close to D-Rock and so forth?
Well, Rube, he knew Rube from back in Junior Mafia days. But then when D-Rock got out of jail, Rube started coming around all the time. So he started traveling with us when we was out of town, and he was basically one of the security. You know what I'm saying? So Rube was D-Rock man. When D-Rock couldn't make it, Rube would come. So he felt real comfortable with Rube. You know what I'm saying? So him and Rube became close. So when I left at the end of 2011, Rube kind of filled in where I was at. And he became that everyday person. He moved out to LA, everything else. So Rube didn't have a lot of things that I had. Like I had a wife at that time. You know, Rube wasn't married, so his availability was there. He didn't have nothing to run home with. His son was with Christian every day. So it was a reason that he was there. So, you know, Puff finds a way to take advantage of everybody and everything around him.
Well, according to Capricorn, when Puffy found out about Kid Cudi, he went and got a gun, got Ruben as security, and got Capricorn and said, we're going to go kill Cudi. Let's go. And I guess he made Capricorn give him the address.
Right.
So the three of them jumped in the car to go to Kid Cudi's house.
Right.
Have you ever seen Puff do something this reckless before?
I'm just saying, yo, the Puff that I see now wasn't nothing like the person I seen in 2011. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't know if it was drugs. I don't know if it was the billionaire status making him feel like he was untouchable. I don't even know if it might have been some things that he went through and got away with, so he felt like he was untouchable now. But when he say killing, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I think that was a figure of speech of somebody being mad, yo, I'm gonna go kill him, because Puff ain't killing nobody.
Well, what about just grabbing a gun and going somewhere? Did Puff ever hold his own guns before?
Not when I was around.
Yeah.
Nah, not when I was around.
That seemed a little weird. That almost seemed like Capricorn put a little extra on it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't put it past him.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because it comes a time where you around people and you trying to keep a facade up. So by you trying to keep a facade up, you go outside your body. And Puff has done that a million different times when you say a person of that status and that amount of money is not supposed to be involved in certain things. I've seen Puff get involved in certain things, certain fights, yo, let's go, we're gonna punch him in the face, we're gonna do. But everybody's not fighting, Puff. So if you wanna go up there and fight, everybody's not fighting. And I used to tell him that. He'd be like, yo, what that nigga said about me? And him and Kid Cudi always had a little situation. I don't know what it was, but it was one time we went to a concert and me and Puff walked in and he heard Kanye on the stage and Kanye was performing. Mm-hmm. And Puff said, yo, come on. So I don't know what's going on. So we run up behind stage. And as soon as Kanye got off, Puff jumped in his face. And I said, yo, what's that about? He said, nigga, that's the 16 that Kanye just wrote for me. He's up there performing the 16 that he sent me for my record, because everybody know Puff don't write his own stuff. Mm-hmm. So I had no idea that was the 16, but and Kanye had no idea that Puff was coming to the concert. So when we walked in, he heard the same 16 that Kanye must have sent him. So it was actually Kid Cudi concert. So Kanye was performing because Cudi was his artist. Mm-hmm. And while we was backstage, it was me and D-Rock, one of Kid Cudi said, yo, I don't know what Puff here for. The only thing he could bring me is Ciroc. You know what I'm saying? So while we was riding back, D-Rock went and told Puff, yo, B, the nigga was talking shit. He said, yo, so why y'all niggas ain't set it off? He said, yo, Bonds stopped me. So, you know, Puff started looking at me like, yo, you scared or something? And it wasn't that I was scared. It's just that I'm a thinker, yo. I'm not jumping out the window for every little thing. So I feel like Puff had a little animosity against Kid Cudi anyway.
I mean, how many physical fights did you get into while doing security?
I only got into one physical fight, and that was in Miami in 2005, 2006 at the Super Bowl.
Huh.
I had took over King of Diamonds. We was actually the first one to take over. Me and Puff came up with an idea because he said, yo, I got with the guy that owned King of Diamonds, and he said, yo, let's do an after party for Puff here. So Puff said, yo, I'm not interrupting my money, because back then Mansion and everything was rocking, and he was already booked for that. So I said, all right, let's do the after party to the party. And we did that. And when Puff got on stage, that was the first time Drake ever been to King of Diamonds. Had just opened. And when Puff came, he came with everybody, from Drake to Rick Ross to everybody. And somebody had said some real slick stuff to him from down below. And we had got into a little fight and everything there. It wasn't nothing big, but that was the only physical fight that I could say. Everything else was basically taken care of because of who I was. And when I stepped to the person, he goes, nah, we don't want no problems, this, that type of thing like that. But physically, that was the only fight.
Okay, so according to Capricorn, Puff grabs a gun, grabs her and Ruben, and they go to Kid Cudi's house. Puff and Ruben get out the house. She's in the car, and she can see them breaking into the house. Once they're in the house, God knows what happened. Apparently something happened to the dog. Which,
I seen that on the court thing. They said he locked the dog in the bathroom or something.
Here's what I think really happened. I think Puff walked in the house and said, you gonna fuck my bitch? I'm gonna fuck your bitch. He grabbed the dog. He grabbed the baby oil.
And fuck the dog, huh?
Fuck the dog.
Yeah.
That's what I think happened.
Yeah, that would be
I can't
crazy.
prove it.
Yeah, that would
The
be
dog
crazy.
was never the same after that.
Yeah. Yeah, so they went in the house.
They went in the house.
Oh, wow. But how they get in the house?
I guess they broke into the house.
Oh, okay.
They broke into the house. And then, once whatever dog activities happened inside, they came back to the car. I guess it was an Escalade. They drove off. But I guess, like, while they're in the house, Capricorn called Cassie and was like, yo, like, Puff is in Kid Cudi's house. I guess she was on speakerphone, and Kid Cudi was like, he's in my house? Like, what the hell? So Cudi jumps in his car and heads to the house.
Right.
As Puff is driving off, they literally pass Kid Cudi.
Okay.
So Puff turns around and starts chasing his car.
Oh, wow.
But once they get close to the house, he hears the sirens and all that. So they turn around and speed off.
Okay.
But from what I understand, one of the cops that were at the scene saw the Escalade, swerve off, took down the license plate of it, and when they looked it up, it was a bad boy vehicle.
Right.
So it pretty much puts him at the scene.
Right.
Not
But a lot of people drove because every car we had was either Escalade or Yukon, and they was all underneath the bad boy insurance and all that other stuff.
I get that, but to have that car at Kid Cudi's house at that time
Right.
is not a coincidence.
No, okay, I agree.
It's not
with
just
you.
a random bad boy employee just driving past that particular street at that time.
Exactly.
So it pretty much puts him there. Are you surprised that he would actually break into someone's house and so forth? Because then afterwards, Kid Cudi's Porsche gets firebombed.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I mean, to actually break, that shit sounds ludicrous to me. It's been times where we went over to Kim's house and Kim wouldn't let him in, and we stood out there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Wait,
This,
what?
that, and the other.
He would be out there for 6 hours.
What? Like, yo, I know she in here, Barnes. I know she in here. And be banging on the door and everything, and they're trying to figure out a way to get in, but in reality, that wasn't breaking in the house because he paid for the house. You know what I'm saying? Because I would be like, yo, why is we out here for like this, man, the police? So what if the police come? This is my house. So he was paying for the house anyway. But for him to like break it to a Kid Cudi house and like to actually, I don't know, but love make you do crazy things. So I don't know, And one thing about Puff is he big on respect. So maybe he felt like it was a disrespect, and I don't know, but for him to break in the house, that shit sound crazy. Now, did it happen? I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, yeah. Once he got back to his house and Cassie was there, Capricorn said that he beat her 100% full force. Kicking her.
Beat Cassie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kicked her as hard as he could. She was just whimpering in the fetal position and so forth. And I guess Puffy said that if she intervened, he would attack her next. And
Well,
all the security sat around and just watched.
Okay. So I don't know what security was there then.
Yeah, I guess it's Ruben.
Yeah. I know that something happened, you know what I'm saying, because I know that Capricorn got a payout, you know what I'm saying, around that same particular time.
Mm.
You know, you hear stuff just being in the office. You know what I'm saying? You know that she stopped working, and then you hear, her lawyer call, and I forgot who Puff lawyer was at that time, and then you hear, she got 400,000, 500,000, and then she stopped working there. I see, what happened? Puff smacked her, Puff hit her. So I know for sure he had hit Capricorn at that particular time, and she took that payout and left. But then I think
She came back.
That's what I was going to say. Another year or two, she came back, but she came back in a different role. She came back as his personal liaison, and she was working directly with him. So she would go with us on video shoots and different stuff, and her job would be to make sure that he had everything he wanted and put everything together for him. And then she left again after that, over some, it was so crazy because he called me and it was over her asking the chef to cook us some eggs without, and why did the chef put onions inside the eggs? And then Puff came down and went crazy, and he called me over the mic and said, "Yo, get her out my house." And he threw all the shit out the house in Miami. And Capricorn said, "Yo, all I did was ask for some eggs without the onions, Bonds." Da-da-da. I said, "Yo, you just gotta leave, yo." I said, "Just leave." Da-da-da-da. And I was surprised because when I was listening to some of her stuff, I heard that she came back again in 2016.
Right.
So I was kind of shocked about that because I had no idea about that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, she also claimed that at one point some of Puff's jewelry went missing. So he locked her in a room for like 40 hours and made her take a bunch of lie detector tests. And I guess until like 5 days later, when they finally cleared her, it was cool. But do you know about this at all?
I heard about it, but I wasn't there then.
Okay.
I came about, I want to say 3 months after that. But I heard about it, that it was like $2 million worth of jewelry and Capricorn. It was at the office. So when I came, it was but she did mention 1710. So 1710 was the Sean John Bad Boy Ciroc office. So that was the whole building that Puff brought on 55th and Broadway. But before that, they was in 1440. So it actually happened when they was in 1440, but she said they took her to 1710 and it was under construction. So I heard it through the grapevine of the office and stuff like that, but I wasn't there for that. And that's another reason I say God bless me not to be there for those type things.
Well, I guess Capricorn used to work for Suge Knight at one point.
I don't know if she worked for Suge, but her and Stormy is really, really, really tight. Because Capricorn is from L.A. So she went to high school and everything else out of L.A. And her and Suge baby mother is really tight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And she also said that at one point, her and Lauren London were hanging out. Did you ever see Lauren London around?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Because who was Lauren friends with? Puff?
I don't know where the friendship came from, but she used to be with Capricorn all the time. So when you see people with Capricorn all the time, you don't know if they Puff friend or if they Cap friend because that's how tight everybody was. So I started seeing her with Cassie. I seen her with Puff all the time. I never seen her and Puff doing anything personal. You know what I'm saying? It was always in the studio. You know what I'm saying? It was always those type at the house, but all that. But it was never them two alone. It was always Capricorn around or somebody else around.
Yeah, I guess part of the testimony was this one time when she was there with Puffy and Lauren London, he was having Cassie do a bunch of tasks in front of them, and he was pointing out how they weren't doing the same type of things. And he said, you know, that's why, and he was saying like, that's why you guys don't have a man like me. You know, he said, let me show you something. You know, he called Cassie over, asked her to sit down, stand up, turn around, turn the other way, walk there, grab that, hand me that, walk back, turn around, go back to the room. He said, yeah, did you see that? You bitches won't do that. That's why you don't have a man.
I can see that. I can see that because Puff is a show-off. He want to show off. He don't care about making somebody look bad as long as he look good. And that was one of the things that I never really liked about him, because he would do stupid shit like that in front of a girl that wasn't really part of our family or wasn't around us every day just to show that he a boss. You know what I'm saying? He might ask me to do something that's really not underneath the security type of thing, like go get her bags or do stuff like that. And that's just to make him, you know, feel bigger. So I could see him doing that.
I mean, do you see him have Cassie do a bunch of meaningless tasks like that? Stand up, turn around, and go here. Go
Nah,
there?
I never seen him do that. Nah.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting when Cassie, I guess, was breaking up with Puffy, and she was like, who do I date next? Is Jay-Z available?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that because Cassie was really, like the first time me and Cassie smoked some weed together in Miami in like 2008. I think it was when she first started coming around, and she said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm smoking some weed with Puff Security. And I looked at her like, huh? You know, and then one time I had to get in the club and she said, oh, I feel like Jennifer Lopez. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying to myself, like, yo, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So I could see, I could see that. I could see that. He found a kid, yo. He found a kid. And he took advantage of a kid that he knew wanted to be a star.
Well, another person took the stand recently, one of Diddy's assistants. Now, the name that she was presented to in court was Mia, because she was trying to hide her identity. But at this point, we all know who this really is. It's not Mia, it's Sarah Snedeker, who was his personal assistant at one point.
Right.
Did you know Sarah?
Yeah, very well.
Okay. Now, she claimed that Diddy repeatedly sexually assaulted her while she was employed over the course of 8 years.
Right.
Do you believe that?
I mean, she ain't never say nothing. So she never gave no signs of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really about what I believe and what I don't believe. The fact is that she never said nothing. So she never gave no sign to none of us that that was the type of thing. And of course, he never gave no sign that that was the type of thing that was going on. So I can't really even tell you yes or no on that one.
Well, but from what I heard, and I know a lot of people that are around the bad boy system, Sarah had a little bit of a reputation. And what was that reputation?
I don't know the reputation she had, but when you're on the road for a long time, you know, and when you become friends with a lot of people who you feel are superstars and things like that, sometimes things happen. You know what I mean? Sometimes things happen. You know, you might consider yourself someone's girlfriend, and they might lead you on to think that you they girlfriend and stuff like that. You know, Sarah was very smart, you know, and she would do anything that Puff asked her to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Sarah was from Virginia Beach, and small town, this, that, and the other. So she did everything. I seen Puff yell at her. I seen Puff scream at her. I seen Puff might have threw a pen at her a couple of times, shit like that. And she still would come back like he was God. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she talked about a couple instances. So at one point, she needed to change her tampon. So, you know, there was like blood, like was trickling down her leg. And I guess he asked her to go get someone, but she had to go change her tampon first. Puff got upset, and she said that he threw a bowl of spaghetti at her. He said, get the fuck out of my house. He chased her out. She was barefoot. She was first hiding in a bush, and then she went to a hotel. Then she got suspended without pay. Does this sound like an interaction between Puffy and Sarah?
Yeah, I heard about that.
You heard about the spaghetti?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay. What was he so upset about?
It's because he wants you to do it when he say do it, and he don't want nothing else to come in between that. You know what I'm saying? It was one thing that she talked about. I think I was there for that, where she got suspended. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time she got suspended. But if you don't try to find out what's really going on, little different stories float around the office. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what's Sarah and I here for? They won't really tell you what's going on. Oh, something happened in her family. Oh, she this and that. Because whatever Puff went through with his assistants, it went through the chief of staff to them. And they never wanted to be embarrassed by what it was really about. So they would throw it off to different things. They would be like, okay, you played your lane. If you was security, you was security. The only reason that you found out about some of these things is because from y'all living together, from y'all staying together, from y'all being together so much, y'all talk. And all these people was smiling in front of Puff's face, but they was talking about him behind his back. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to happy, wasn't nobody really happy. I heard her on the stand saying, yo, you look really happy, and you look, yeah, you play that. You play like you happy, and you can't never lie and say you not having no happy moments. I mean, you in the top tier hotels, you in the top tier places that you could ever be, and you're not working every minute, because there's times where Puff got to go to his room, whether it's for a freak off or whatever. That's free time that you got. You know what I'm saying? So you take pictures, you make it seem like you enjoying yourself, you having a great time. You got your food in your hotel room and everything else like that. But really deep inside, you like, man, I really want to. Once the enjoyment is over, you're like, yeah, I'm ready to get up out of here. Or you don't show what you're going through as far as mentally. You know what I'm saying? The way he talking to you, the shit he say to you. Now, he talked to security a little different, especially if you kind of bark back at him. And it came a point where I was through kind of like the Puff era and like doing everything he said do without coming back. And me and him started getting into arguments. Yo, I'm not doing that, yo. This, that, and other. And when it becomes like that, he's going to start pushing you away.
Yeah, there's a few instances that she actually referred to. So I guess they went to Burning Man at one point. Were you around for that?
I was around, but I never went to Burning Man.
You never went to Burning Man. So I guess at Burning Man, you know, when you were off, they're on a big tour bus. They get there, and there was a bunch of drugs that everyone was taking. She thought it was ketamine. And he told her to take some because she was ruining the vibe. She didn't want to take it. You know, she said that it got serious. He got in her face, you know, and basically made her snort a line of the ketamine. She said that people were like falling down the K-hole. They were like, looked like they were going through an exorcism and so forth. Did you ever take drugs around Puff? Or did he make any of the security dudes do drugs, or he wanted you guys on point?
He ain't make you do nothing. He ain't make you do nothing. If you did something, it was because you wanted to try it or you wanted to stay up. You know what I'm saying? There was times where you would have to stay up 3 days in a row. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be like, damn, I can't go to sleep. How the fuck is they staying up? You know what I'm saying? And you'll try it. You know what I'm saying? I think I might have tried, what the fuck is that? I forget the name of it.
Molly?
Yeah, I might have tried Molly one time, and I was up for like 48 hours, and I just ain't like the feeling. I just was like, yo, what the fuck? I can't go to sleep. And then when it's time to go to sleep, you can't go to sleep. But I seen how they stay up. But as far as security, we not on the same friendship or the same anything that the assistants would be on, especially when you in a Burning Man, because I would hear stories when they came back from Burning Man, of how Burning Man was and shit they did at Burning Man and stuff like that. But none of the security ever went to Burning Man.
Yeah, I've been to Burning Man before. I mean, it's basically, that was the first time I tried acid. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a drug area. Like, you know, it's a place to take drugs. You're in the middle of the desert.
Okay.
You know, there's no police. There's no nothing. It's just a bunch of dudes and girls getting high and partying and doing what else? You know, whatever else. I mean, there was some other instances. You know, she said that at one point, like, Puff was really angry at Cassie, so they jumped on a paddleboard to try to escape. and they were like out in the ocean, and it was starting to get like choppy, and they're like, okay, do we risk, getting caught in the ocean, or do we risk going back and getting caught by Puff?
Right.
There was a situation at Prince's house.
Okay.
You know about this?
We've been to Prince's house quite a couple of times.
Okay, so around 2011, 2012, so you may or may not have been there,
right,
depending on the exact date. But I guess that Sarah tried to get Cassie to go to this small party at Prince's house.
Right.
And I guess Puff told her to stay home, but they sneaked out anyways. Once they got there, Prince was there, he was performing, whatever else, and then Puff walks in. So as soon as they see him, they run. Puff runs after him, catches Cassie, throws her on the ground, and starts to attack her. But then Prince's security comes in and breaks it up. And then Sarah gets suspended without pay after that.
That might have been the time that me and Puff, because we went to Prince's house quite a couple of times. Puff had the green light at Prince's house. Like, I would just stay in the living room and he'd be all over the house. The shit was so big, I don't know where he was at. You know what I'm saying? But it was a couple of times we went when he performed. And I do remember an incident that him and Cassie had, and Sarah was there. But those are those type of things where he's not going to come back and talk to you about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm in the living room. Like, once you hit Prince's house, it's no longer needed for security. You know what I'm saying? So whatever, me and him went there a couple of times. Him and, I forget the other lady, the actress, went there a couple of times. And it's like, yo, don't be on top of me when I'm at Prince's house. Yo, just go your way, this, that, and the other. But I remember him and Cassie getting into it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't know what part Sarah played in it. But I remember him and Cassie getting into it there at Prince's house.
Well, you were there for this. Mm-hmm. And I know someone who was there also. I'm not going to say who it is because it was a private conversation. When Puff dropped The Last Train to Paris, and he was dealing with the album rollout, this was mentioned on the stand by Sarah, and it was confirmed by someone who was actually there that I know. So I guess what had happened was Puff, Swizz Beatz, and Sarah were in a trailer.
Right.
And the internet wasn't working. There was no Wi-Fi.
Right.
Capricorn was also in the vicinity. Sarah was running around trying to get the Wi-Fi working, and she couldn't get it working.
Right.
And what the guy I know said he saw was that Puff grabbed the laptop and threw it at Sarah's head as hard as he could, and it barely missed her head.
Right.
And he said that Capricorn was outside crying
in
this whole incident.
Right.
Did you see all this?
I didn't see it, but I know about it.
You know about it.
Yeah. I was there. I was there. I just wasn't in the room with them. I was outside the room.
Okay.
But they came out and they was talking about it. You know what I'm saying? I remember Capricorn said, yo, your man in there bugging out. Yo, he in there. And then Sarah was just what you call a mental wreck after that. Huh. You know what I'm saying? He didn't hit her. And then his way after that is after he do shit like that, it take him 2 minutes to apologize, and then he might send him to a spa or something like that. And he think it's all forgotten. You know what I'm saying?
So he would just buy his way out of those situations.
Yeah, he would buy his way out of that.
Huh.
With the quickness. Yo, you got tomorrow off. Go ahead to the spa. You know? His thing was about, I seen him make Capricorn cry so many times. You know what I'm saying? I seen him make Sarah cry so many times. He just got off on that. Not by a physical hand, because he never did that in front of me. Now, whether he did that in front of other security, I'm not too sure. The only time that he did that in front of me was when Cassie talked about it on Sunset Drive after that party, where she said I intervened with it and tried to stop him and all that. That's the only time and that really wasn't in front of me. That was just them, and I happened to be inside the truck and I seen it. So Puff did a lot of shit around people that he know he could do it that wouldn't intervene, or people that was doing that shit to their girl, they self. You know what I'm saying? And I would see a lot of the aftermath of the shit that he did, like when he sent me to the hotel to check on Cassie and all that, and Cassie opened up her shirt and she was like, look, and she showed me all the on her chest. You know what I'm saying? People sometimes think that you there for that. Nah, you're not there for the actual beating. You actually get to see what went on, and you'd be like, damn, why you still with him? But it even came to a point, like I heard Sarah say on the stand, and she said, they said, did you ever talk to Cassie about leaving? And she said, you heard what Barnes said. Barnes said that Cassie would go back and tell everything. And that's what she did. So even when I asked Cassie, yo, why you still with him? When she showed me a chest, it was at the London Hotel. And Puff asked me to go check on her. And I went and checked on her. And I said, what's up? You need anything? She said, yeah, I just need some weed or something like that. She was like, I said, yo, you all right? Because she was like, man, she said, I'm all right, but look. And she showed me that her chest was all bruised up. I said, yo, why you still with him? So 2-3 weeks later, when they back hunky-dory again and they cool, maybe they getting high or whatever, you know, Barnes asked me why I'm still with you. He said I should leave. And then the next thing he's calling me, yo, why the f*** you talking to my girl about shit like that? So I just stopped talking about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the exhibits in the case was this picture right here, which is Cassie's bruises.
Yeah.
Now, these don't look insanely crazy.
They insanely crazy,
but
no matter how they look, because you ain't got no reason hitting on no woman like that.
That's true. That's true. But I just meant like it's not like a Rihanna picture. Like remember like the Rihanna Chris Brown picture where her face was all just puffed up and so forth. There's a bruise on her leg and kind of like on her butt.
Yeah. I remember Rihanna. I stayed with Rihanna and Chris Brown during that situation. They stayed at Puff House in Miami.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I stayed there. Puff woke me up in L.A. one morning and said, yo, I need you. I said, well, what's up? He said, I need you to go to Miami. He said, I'm letting Chris and Rihanna stay at the house. I need you to make sure everything is all right.
Was he at the house too?
Nah, he wasn't there. He stayed in L.A.
Oh.
And he just sent me because he gave them the house to try to get their stuff together and everything else like that. And it was paparazzi across the street. He said, I just need you to make sure that the cameras don't get in there and everything. So I flew out there, and it was even pictures of me and Chris Brown and them on the jet skis out there. So I stayed out there for the week and a half, and they told me everything that happened, and, you know, they was trying to get it together.
How was the interaction between Rihanna and Chris Brown during that time? Were they really getting along, or was there some arguments, or?
Nah, she wasn't really fucking with him.
Really?
Even when she was there, you know, I think Puff had told him to go out and buy a Cartier bracelet. He said, yo, you got to go buy her some gifts. So he went out there and brought her a Cartier bracelet and all type of stuff. She was running around with her girlfriends. She had her girlfriends at the house, too. And they was just running around. Paparazzi was up in the air and helicopters trying to get pictures. So they was running from house to house, hiding from underneath. But she wasn't really dealing with him. She was talking to him, you know what I'm saying? But she really wasn't. You seen the distance between them. And Chris had told me, he said, yo, she's mean. He said she spazzed out on me about the girl and she hit me upside my head.
He told you about the actual incident.
Yeah.
So tell me exactly what he said.
He said somebody had texted him. He didn't tell me who texted him, but he said she had grabbed the phone and she seen the text. And she hit him upside the head. You know what I'm saying? He said when she hit him upside the head, he said, yo, Barnes, I'm not going to lie. He said, I just spazzed out. He said, I blanked. He said, I blanked. He said, I blanked out. He said, I'm sorry, man. He said, but I blanked out. He said, Shorty, we was sitting right at the pool. He said, Shorty is mean, yo. You don't know how mean she is. And he said, when she just hit me upside my head like that, he said, I just blanked out.
Yeah, no one ever wants to talk about this part.
Yeah.
People always want to, paint Chris Brown as the monster. And, it still haunts him to this day. Like, he still loses gigs. I remember he was supposed to do, like, a Michael Jackson thing on BET, and they cut him out of it and so forth, all because of this whole Rihanna thing.
Right.
But no one wants to talk about how Rihanna threw the first punch.
Right.
And Rihanna's not a little girl. I've interviewed Rihanna before, earlier in her career. She's like my height. She's like 6 foot tall. Like, with heels, she's like 6'2".
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got this husky girl, essentially, probably hitting you as hard as she can because she's angry, but you're the bad guy for retaliating, unfortunately. That's how society works.
Yeah, I mean, you the bad guy regardless because she's a woman.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And what I'm saying, they're about the same size.
Chris is not a little dude.
No, he's not a little dude.
You know what I'm saying? Especially at this time. We talking at the age of 17, maybe?
No, they're like 19, I think, 20.
Yeah. Okay, we talking about at a young age. You know what I'm saying? And when Chris stood next to Rihanna at that time, he was bigger than her.
No, I'm
You know
not
what
saying
I'm
the
saying?
same size. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, getting punched in the head by Rihanna, I wouldn't look forward to that.
Yeah.
That seems like that probably hurts.
Yeah, no, it probably did. But
Yeah.
he definitely said he was wrong.
Yeah.
And he definitely said, he said, I blanked out. That was his exact
Well, because no
words.
one wants to get hit.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I'm
it don't
saying?
sound like it was the first time.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? It don't sound like
She
it was
had
the
been
first
hitting
time.
on him.
Yeah, he said, yo, she always hit me upside my head. He said, yo, she just mean, yo.
Huh.
And I guess he just reached, that limit at one time right there.
I mean, it was interesting when Kid Cudi got on the stand, he basically was like, I guess Puffy wanted to meet up with him to talk about the situation. And he wanted to like whoop his ass because he was mad about the dog and whatever. And he said that Puffy looked like a supervillain.
Right.
Right. But what he said was, as he's meeting with Puffy, Cassie walks in.
Okay.
And he was like, and I remember Brian Steele cross-examined him. He was like, how'd you feel when you saw that? And he said, I think she was playing both of us.
Right. That's what, but that's Puff doing. Because that's one of those things where I'm going to show you that, quote unquote, she belonged to me. Yeah. I'm going to show you my power.
Yeah.
Puff is big on power. Everything with him is power. And that's why he in this situation right now, because it's power. People don't understand. People say, yo, what you got to understand is that you have employees. You got people that's scared for their job. You got people that's scared of being blackballed. You got people that don't want to see his power exerted. So before this happened, this was one of the powerfulest men in the industry from back in Wendy Williams' days.
I guess people like to use this whole blackball term loosely. And I've always felt, because I've been in the music industry since maybe 2002. It's coming up on 25 years. Mm-hmm. I always felt it was bullshit. Because, for example, I'll tell you one situation. Me and you haven't talked about this before.
Right.
But at one point, this was maybe 2009, maybe?
Okay.
Maybe 2009, 2010. Nude photos had leaked of Cassie.
Okay.
It was a picture of her on the bed with her legs spread open and her titties out. She was naked. You could see like the nipple rings and stuff like that. And it was just her with her legs open. So with this being the early days.
I didn't see those, huh?
Huh?
I didn't see those.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw them. They're all over the place. They're all gone now. They're scrubbed off the internet. But I was, there weren't too many websites around. It was us, World Star, Now Right, only a couple blogs and so forth. So we posted them.
Okay.
Right? So.
Oh, wow. All right.
I'm like, fuck it. We get tons of views.
You still got them?
Was that?
You still got them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think I still have them anymore.
Wow.
So what happened was, me and Sean Prez have been friends forever,
Right.
Since my mixtape days. Sean calls me and was like, Puffy wants to talk to you. And I said, no, thanks. He goes, what, you don't want to talk to Puff? He seemed surprised. I'm like, no, because I know what this is about. This is about these pictures. He's going to get on the phone. He's going to yell at me, and I don't take that well.
Right.
I don't let another man yell at me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And this is what I think this is about to happen. So
Right.
I don't give a fuck. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
So he goes, all right, well, I'll tell him. An hour later, I get a call from Steve Rifkin.
Okay.
Who was, the president of SRC Records / Loud Records, Wu-Tang, whatever else. Now, at the time, Vlad TV was located inside of SRC Records at Universal.
Okay.
They actually gave us office space, so I was sort of like a VP over there, sort of.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty much.
I know Steve,
Yeah. Cool dude. So Steve calls me, and he was like, Puffy just yelled at me for the last 30 minutes about this picture on your website. Can you please take it down?
Right.
I said, sure, Steve, I got you. Because at that point, he basically called my boss.
Right.
To try to, because he knew I wouldn't take his call. So I couldn't say no to Steve because I had desks at his office. So I had to take it down.
Right.
But that was what was happening during that time.
Right.
And I heard that Puff was calling all the blogs personally and threatening him and yelling and whatever else.
Right.
But my thing was I don't give a shit about Puff.
Right.
Puff, yes, he has his place in the industry, but he doesn't run everything.
Right. Right.
If Puff wants to blackball me and say, oh, no bad boy artists on Vlad TV, who gives a shit? There's 10 other labels. There's a million other artists. So when people say, oh, we're being blackballed, whatever else, I just feel like it's an excuse.
Nah, I think it depends on what part of the industry you in. If you're a personal assistant, him blackballing you will be bigger than if you're a blogger. Because if you're a blogger at that particular time, you're supposed to sell what's going to get you the most views. Say even now, the most views, the most hits, the most anything. So people understand that. But when you're a personal assistant and then somebody tell you, yo, they've been spreading my business around, they've been doing, these are things that could kill you. Because when you that type of person, well, why did you leave Puff? That's the first thing they ask you. Why did you leave? Even in security.
Oh, they'll call Puff and Puff will say,
Yeah.
oh, she stole, oh, she's
She did-
foul, she's
exactly.
a liar. I guess, but people still hire people even, because here's the thing, lots of people don't like Puff.
Right.
So it's like, okay, fuck him too.
But you got a lot of people that don't like Puff, but you got a lot of people that don't want to be his enemy neither.
Oh, I see. So by hiring this assistant, you now have a beef
Exactly.
with
Why
Puff,
you
and it's
think
just more of a
Capricorn couldn't
headache.
find shit? She couldn't find shit because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's people that's going to need him. It's money talk.
Okay.
Money
I
talk.
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Well, one of the security guards from the Intercontinental took the stand.
Right.
And what he said was that Puffy paid him $100,000 for the security footage. Gave it to him in a brown paper bag full of cash. He split it with the other security guards. His cut was $30,000. I guess Puff was like, oh, you know, make sure you don't like get too flashy with the money. You don't want to attract any attention, whatever else. And the footage disappeared for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about this at all? Because this was after you left, right?
Yeah, I didn't hear about that until I seen the video. Once I seen the video, I was like, whoa.
I had heard there was another situation. It was like some fight happened in a club and Puff, like I guess some dude like walked up and Puff was kind of turned off by him. He had the security basically beat his ass. And then when he went to try to go sue, the club didn't have that footage. Did you hear of Puff buying footage and you know, hiding footage and stuff like that when situations occur or not really?
I heard of something with Cassie and a guy in a club. The guy was talking to Cassie in the club and Puff smacked him. You know what I'm saying? Puff smacked him. And then Jay-Z got involved in it because Jay-Z knew the dude that Puff smacked.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And I heard Puff call Jay-Z. I wasn't, by the grace of God, I wasn't working that night neither. I think D-Rock was working that night. And when I came to work, a few days later, they told me the story. And I forgot, I can't remember who told me, but I know that Jay-Z or somebody in Jay-Z camp had spoke to the dude, and the dude said, yo, tell Puff, give me $30,000. And they had to give him $30,000, and the dude never pressed charges. I don't know about footage of a fume or nothing. I know the guy himself didn't press no charges for the $30,000, which Puff kept that type of money in his safe. You know what I'm saying, for emergency situations. $100,000 was nothing to be inside the safe. $30,000 was nothing just to be inside the safe like that.
Okay, well, another one of Diddy's assistants took the stand, David James, who was Diddy's assistant from 2007 to 2009. And I guess he was actually crying on the stand. I guess there was a picture of Diddy on the wall, and he was told, this is Mr. Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve in it. Does that sound like something that would be said?
Of course.
Mr. Combs' kingdom.
Of
we
course.
all serve in it. Like y'all are slaves or something.
I know, of course, that's how he treats you.
Huh.
Yeah, period, point blank.
Wasn't there issues with you getting overtime?
Of course there was. I spoke about this way before what they was talking about, if you remember. I said we used to work 20 hours a day, sometimes 72 hours. Because see, assistants and security have to be with him at all times. So if he's doing an album, you're inside the studio working for 2 days straight. Meanwhile, he got things to keep him up. You don't have nothing to keep you up. And it was a time that he was at Atlantic Records. Bad Boy was underneath Atlantic Records. So our timesheets would go into Atlantic Records, to Craig Cowman, Julie and them, it would go into them. And they seen the hours that was on there, so they would have to bill Bad Boy because Bad Boy had a certain amount of money. And one day we was driving in the car and Puff said, what the fuck? What the fuck? And he said, yo, you doing this shit to me too? So he found out that people was putting in the hours that they really was working. You know what I'm saying? We're working 120 hours in a week and things like that. And he's like, nah, I can't pay y'all for that. And everybody was like, yo, this is just what we working. We just putting in. Call time is 7 in the morning. We here until 4 in the morning. We at Bad Boy Studio till 4 in the morning. So what he did with me was the young lady, Tony Fletcher, that was head of finance, and Bad Boy came to me and said, Barnes, either you leave or you change these hours. You know what I'm saying? And she made me change my hours to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, right?
But that's still overtime, though.
Huh?
That's still overtime. So, for example...
That's overtime,
yeah.
But that's not what I'm working. I'm working 20 hours a day.
Yeah, that's crazy because I've got a staff of like 11 people. Mm-hmm. And I have to follow the rules. If you work more than 8 hours a day or more than 40 hours a week, you get paid time and a half. My employees could attest to this.
Right.
I don't expect anyone to work more than 40 hours and not get paid time and a half.
Right.
Or else I'm going to deal with the labor department.
Right.
But he was basically purposely underpaying people?
Purposely.
Huh.
Purposely. Because the hours that he was doing, like even the driver went, he would put in how many hours he rode with Puff. Atlantic. He made the driver. He said, yo, I can only pay you, so I think it was $65,000. And the driver was making like $160,000, $170,000 because of the hours. And he made him do that. He lost his house and everything else. But Puff came and told him, he said, yo, man, do me a favor. I need you to stay with me. I trust you. He said, but if you just need some money from time to time, just ask me and I'll give it to you out of my pocket. Well, he did that once or twice, but then when the driver needed some more money, he was like, yo, I don't have it. I don't have it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how cheap Puffy is considering his net worth. Because, I'd even heard that he was trying to like cut corners with his legal bills and his legal defense. Like I heard that this defense should have cost way more money. There should be way more experts or whatever else. But Puff was like, nah, that's too much. I'm not going to spend that much. And it's like, yo, like your life is on line right now. You're facing life in prison. But yeah, the cheapness I heard just is a little weird considering how much he's worth. And,
oh, no.
Down to the point of just, okay, it's cool to be, if you want to be cheap, if you don't want to tip 20%, whatever else, there's nothing illegal. You don't have to tip. Right. But legally, you have to pay people overtime.
Right.
I am familiar with this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I told my employees, y'all got to work 60 hours a week and I'm only going to pay you for 40, at some point, one of them's going to get sick of it, go to the labor department, and then I'm going to have a case in the labor department where they're going to go through all my records, and then I'm going to have to pay penalties and fines and so forth. So I've always been very clean about this. Why do you think he was being cheap to his own detriment in a way?
Because back at that time, like even when I heard like during Sarah testimony and a couple of other people's testimony where it must have came to a point where Labor Department got involved and they figured out how much money they was owed overtime. That never happened when we was there. Because if it would have happened when we was there, I would have got $100,000, $200,000 easy in overtime pay. Money is his love, man. When it comes to Puff is so cheap to the point where when we was on the Last Train to Paris tour, and security makes extra money doing little things. You might get a certain amount of passes, a certain amount of tickets every concert. So you get somebody, because you can't do it, you get somebody to stand out there and scalp the tickets for you. He wants.
Oh, that's how you guys would make extra money?
That's how we had to make extra money.
Wow,
you know
guys
what I'm
had to scrape.
Oh yeah, we got 20 extra tickets for this concert in Germany and London. So now you find somebody else that can stand out there and say, yo, you take half, you give me half.
That's crazy.
Blah, blah, blah. We're gonna sell these tickets for X amount.
Wow.
But after the tour is over, Puff wants to know how much money you made off the extra tickets because he wanted his percentage.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
That's
this is
crazy.
this is real shit. Like,
wow.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I used to get so upset when he talk about, yo, I pay this, I pay this, I pay that. You don't pay shit. You don't pay nobody.
Yeah, I remember I was watching an interview the other day with the Breakfast Club when Shine was on there. Mm-hmm. And I guess when Shine got out, and they were hanging out a little bit. I guess they were out in Paris. And he had seen Puff spend $500,000 on Cassie.
Right.
That's what he said.
Right.
And then like Puff was like, had a talk with him afterwards, was like, hey man, listen, I'm sorry. The lawyers was telling me, you know, to turn against you. I didn't want to do it. I know that was a mistake and so forth. I'm really sorry. Yeah, you know, you took that case. You did it 10 years. Here's $50,000. And Sean was like, I did 10 years. You gave him $50,000. And I just seen you give this chick $500,000.
Right.
If you would give me $1 million, I would have been, okay, that's
Right.
cool. Like, okay, thank you. But $50,000, he said he was damn near ready to give it back.
Right. But he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Because you need it. And that's
need
what
it.
Puff
Yeah.
plays off. He plays off the fact that he know you need him. Or same thing with security assistants, everything. You just came home from jail. All right, you making $70,000 a year with me, but you need me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Where else you going to go? Yeah.
You know, where you going? You know what I'm saying? So whereas he say, okay, I'm paying you more than the average person pay, I'm not paying you what you worth. And that's Puff, 100%. Everything he does, he wants to cut the corners on. I book most of his parties throughout the years. Yo, Barnes, I don't give nobody 20%. I'm not giving nobody 20%. I'll give you 10%. You know what I'm saying? Then it came to a point where in order for me to be able to book it, I only would get 5%.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But he's getting $40,000 or $50,000 a party, so I say, fuck it, give me the 5%. You know what I'm saying? Give me the 5%, because 5% is better than nothing. But this is the type of advantages that he takes.
Right, because 5% is like $2,500.
Exactly. But if you working anyway and you gotta book this party anyway and you make an extra $2,500, you start to have the mentality of, okay, at least I got that. But why, at the end of the day, why you couldn't give me my regular, start off at 20% or give me my 10%, whichever it was, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, the CFO took the stand, and he was basically implying that Puffy was engaging in tax evasion. Because he was like, you guys would get the money in cash, and then he would basically just take the cash, and then later on, it'd be the check that he would actually declare on his taxes and so forth, right?
Okay, so you saying the first half would be cash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was our job right there, to go pick up the first half. So the first half would be cash. Whatever they did with it, you know, we not accountants. We didn't know. You know what I'm saying? All I know is that this is something that's been going on before I got there. You know what I'm saying? When I got there in 2003, 2004, I got, let's just say mansion or live, or let's say 112. I got a party, go see this person right here. They got to pay me half. I'm charging them $50,000. They're going to give you 25. Once you get that 25, you take it to the CFO, or you take it to Puff, or you take it to whoever they tell you to take it to. I gave that 25 to such and such. Oh, okay, cool. So they only owe me the back end. And then the back end would be a check. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no idea what that first end is for, but then you start hearing, like when Derek took the stand and stuff like that, that you paid that first half so that he could get around taxes.
Right. So he basically pocketed the 25 in cash and just kept that in a safe, and then the other 25 would be declared.
Right.
Is probably what's happening.
Right.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cassie, you know, because she basically filed a lawsuit against Puffy asking for $30 million. And I had heard a bunch of different stories. I'd actually heard that he only paid a few million, like maybe $4 or $5 million. But she got on the stand and said she got $20 million.
Right.
And she's getting another $10 million from the Intercontinental.
Right.
That's $30 million.
Right.
In a civil case, when it's an assault, that's tax-free.
Right.
The lawyer, I mean, usually lawyers take 30%, but I think in a situation like this, she could probably negotiate it down to like maybe 5% because the numbers are so big,
Right.
5-10%. So she's walking away with, I don't know, maybe $25 million clean.
Right.
That's an insane amount of money.
Right.
Were you surprised when you heard this?
No, because I actually thought it was 30. But when I listened to everything she went through, and I actually seen some of the things that she went through, I would say it was well worth it. I would say it was well worth it because you endured this for 10 years. You ain't endured this for 6 months.
But did she really endure it, or did she really want to be there?
We don't know that.
Because look, even Capricorn said, oh, Cassie has some talent, but she's not a Mary J. Blige or a
Right.
Whitney Houston. Cassie had one hit that Ryan Leslie wrote for her because they're in love,
Right.
And he put everything into it. You and I have the same chances of getting a hit that Cassie had at that point.
Right.
You could get in the booth with the right beat and the right writer at the right time, and you could have a hit record. So could I. Now, having 5, 6 hit records is what, this is where the Mary J. Bliges and the Mariah Careys come in. But she had one hit record, and from what I understood, I forgot who took the stand. It might have been Capricorn, where she said for like a few years, and I've heard this from people at Bad Boy, that Cassie was a top priority at Bad Boy Records. Did you personally see that?
I was there from the day that Cassie came into Puff Life, and I'm going to say this. Do you remember Mary J. when Mary J. first came out?
Yeah.
Everybody said she couldn't sing.
I don't remember that.
Everybody said Mary J. couldn't sing live.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, live, you mean? Okay.
Right.
All right.
Everybody said that. But Mary J. got into being Mary J.
Yeah.
So I listened to Cassie on her first record, and I say, given the time and everything like that, what she would have became, I can't say. You know what I'm saying?
But she had the chance to become that more than anyone else at that talent level because she was sleeping with the boss.
Right, but you're sleeping with somebody who don't really want you to make it.
Do you really believe that?
I believe that.
That's not what I heard.
100%.
That's not what I heard. That's not what I heard.
When I say that, I mean she stayed in the studio. Don't get me wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Who's paying for that studio time?
Well, she didn't have to pay for that studio
Exactly.
time.
Puff is paying for it.
But she's at his house. She's
Right.
in the studio at the house.
But
I'm
the
not saying
producers
it's
aren't free. The producers aren't free. The guest appearances aren't free. Listen, I heard from someone at Bad Boy
Right.
that when Cassie finished a record, it was given the same priority as every other artist at Bad Boy. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, whatever, there's a throwout. No, there's a throwaway record. No,
Okay, I wouldn't know that. I just know the work that she
talked
does.
to people. They said, listen, we try to push these records as hard as we could. People just weren't taking to it. And after a while, you realize, okay, listen, I'm around all these real artists. I'm not as good as all these girls that are actually real
I agree
singers.
with you 100%.
I can't dance. My performances. Remember there was like a BET performance where she just like sucked.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Exactly.
And like everyone was like, okay, she's whatever. So my whole thing is like, I think Cassie knew, listen, I'm not really that talented. I can't really sing. I can't dance. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not as good as all these other people who I'm constantly partying around. And yet I keep, getting these chances. But I know I'm not really talented. Just like me, I know I can't sing.
Right.
You probably can't sing either.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
No, I agree with you in that way.
Right. And I just want to say this. When Cassie left Puffy, there was no bidding war from other labels.
Right.
No one wanted to sign her. Not because they were scared of Puff. Lots of Bad Boy artists went on and had deals with other labels and stuff like that. Went on to do independent, shit and stuff like that. People knew.
But let me ask you something
I'm
about
just
other
saying,
Bad Boy.
like-
Who was successful at it?
What do you mean?
When they left, who was successful?
Let me see.
Give me a Bad Boy artist that was successful when they left.
The Locks.
I can't really say that because the Locks never really was there.
The Locks were signed to Bad Boy.
Yeah, but their success came from being with Rough Riders.
They were also successful with Bad Boy initially, but they wanted to leave. What are you talking about? They had a bunch of records on Bad Boy.
What they had on Bad Boy?
Let me see. Hold on.
What they had on Bad Boy?
Let me see.
That's what I need you to go back to. They had
24 Hours to Live. Remember the record with DMX?
Okay, with
Wait,
DMX,
wait.
but look who was with it. It was Black Raw.
That came
it was
later. Okay,
DMX.
hold on. Money, Power, Respect.
Okay,
That was a big song,
okay.
wasn't it?
Yeah, money, power, respect. That's all you're going to find under
If you
there.
think I'm jiggy.
Come on. Now you talking about holding. Come on.
No, you're
on.
right. Money, Power, Respect was the only
Yeah.
like big song on
Right.
Bad Boy. But they were with Bad Boy. They left. They got bigger.
Right. And they got bigger because they went where they wanted to go and where the fit was at.
Let's see. Lil' Kim was never really signed to Bad Boy, but she
Never.
was managed by Puff. So you could kind of...
Right.
I think Mace, well, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with this. Mace had
Carl
a little
Thomas,
bit of success.
no.
Carl Thomas, not
Total,
really.
no.
Yeah.
112, no.
Yeah, I think I'm wrong in this. I think you actually got me on this.
Yeah.
I'm looking, Sherry Dennis,
Yeah.
Danity Kane, Craig Mack. He just faded off into oblivion. Black Rob.
Exactly.
What's his name? Who went to prison for the murder?
Loon?
No, not Loon. G. Depp.
G. Depp?
Yeah,
right.
He fell off the wagon.
Right.
Young Jock. He
Come
did other
on.
stuff, but it wasn't
No, never to that. They
music
never rose
wise.
to that
Yeah,
height
it didn't.
again.
It didn't match the Bad Boys' success.
Exactly.
Mario Winans. Well, okay, hold on. I mean, Jeezy was technically signed to Bad Boy at one point.
Never.
Boys in the Hood.
Never.
Boys in the Hood was signed to
Bad
Bad
Boy
Boy.
South.
Still Bad Boy.
Okay. But they ain't have. But he had nothing to do with their marketing or anything else like that.
No, I mean, I'm Day 26. Yeah, I mean, B5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. I see
You know
where
what I'm
you're going.
saying?
Once you leave Bad Boy, it pretty much
it's all downhill
flutters
from
out.
there.
Yeah, it's all downhill, unfortunately.
And that's how he got them all to come back for the tour, because they wasn't doing nothing.
They wasn't doing anything. Yeah. Wow.
You know what I mean?
No, you got me on that one. You're
Yeah.
right. I don't have a leg to stand on in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I interviewed Stevie J recently. That's
Okay.
my man from way back. He said he talked to Diddy about the whole video, the
Right.
hotel video, and he said it really threw me for a loop. I always think about and talk about things I know to be true about Sean Combs, but after I saw that video, I went and saw him in Miami. We had a conversation. I let him know how affected I was by that. I didn't know he had it in him to do that. And he basically said, he told Puffy, he's like, look, you're one of my heroes out here. You hurt me with that. So it was a real emotional moment. He said, and I guess Puff was hurt by it too. He said, my mom's got to see this. He's like, yeah, your friends got to see it too.
I don't believe that.
What do you mean?
I don't believe he was hurt by that.
That Stevie was hurt by
I
it?
believe Stevie might have been hurt, but
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I'm
believe
saying.
Puff was like that, because maybe the kids seen it, but everybody's seen it before. It ain't like that 2016 thing just came about, but everybody knows how you are. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, and I left in 2012. So for you to still be doing, and you seen what Cassie said she went through when I was there. So for you to still be doing this in 2016, still be doing this in 2018, come on, this ain't nothing that you felt bad about.
Well, I interviewed Day 26 recently. And at one point, Q broke down and started crying over an email that he saw from Diddy. And he claimed that you were on this email as well.
Well, my thing with Roger
I
Bonds
thought that
was,
Bonds.
like, I had an issue with him, and I was kind of, like, nervous around them because I was in the email, and I saw some things in a personal email that threw me off guard.
Like what?
I don't want to go into details right now, but it just threw me off guard, you know what I mean, to make me be like, you know what I mean, like, I understand you crying now and of the trauma that you've seen, but what about me, bruh? Mm-hmm. Like, what about the trauma you put me through when I read that email?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's just not like Sean that's guilty. They're all fucking guilty, man. Like, and I don't just put the blame on Sean. I blame everybody that's in his circle. They're all millions and they want to be like him. And if they can't be like him, they try to come against him. If they don't got the money or they can't get it as quick as him or whatever he's doing to get it, then all of a sudden it's like, let's turn against him now, you know what I mean? Because I guess whatever, I don't know.
Now, look, I've had a number of people cry
Right.
during interviews, but I've never had someone cry and then everyone around them start crying as well. You watched that interview?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it.
All of Day 26 started crying together. And he was talking about being sacrificed.
Right.
Now, he actually talked about it a little more in another interview with someone else afterwards.
Right.
And he basically said that, he said that Puff invited him to an overnight in the Hamptons and everyone seemed really high. He said his ex-girlfriend, Dawn Richard, handed him a red ecstasy pill, that she said she got from Puffy. He took it. 20 minutes later, he blacked out. When he woke up, he was screaming in the, Puffy's twins' bedroom in the basement. He said there was a bunch of cameras. They were filming him. They're all laughing at him. He said it felt very sacrificial. It felt like someone was trying to hurt me or take me out.
Right.
Now, I remember I called you after this.
Right.
We had a conversation about this.
Right.
So when you heard about this from me, and then you watched the video and so forth, what is your take on this? Since he's implicating you in this.
My take on that was, first of all, I wasn't there for none of that. Whenever Puff went to the Hamptons with his people, they went there, no security needed, no nothing. Now, I listened to him, right? And I was shocked when he said that I was on an email, because I've never been on an email with him and Puff, ever in my life. Point blank, period. I'm not on an email with that. But somebody hit me the other day and said that he was upset with me because he heard I was messing with Dawn and I was supposed to be cool with him, and he knew that that was his girl.
Were you messing with Dawn?
Me and Dawn was friends.
Were you messing with Dawn?
Me and Dawn was friends. He said...
Were you messing with Dawn?
No, he said, no, me and Dawn never had sex.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you on that.
Did you guys do other stuff, though?
Nah, we was friends. We would talk.
Okay,
we would talk, we ride around Miami together, I'll get the Jeep and we ride around in the go-kart, the golf cart, stuff like that.
And by the way, Dawn denied ever drugging Q. She actually responded to that.
We was actually closer than the average person, me and Dawn.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I could see him being upset about that. You know what I'm saying? Because I really didn't care about him because I didn't know him. You know what I'm saying? I just knew he was day 26. I brought Puff to Making It a Band every time he had the tape. Da-da-da. That's how far as we knew each other. So I really didn't care that Dawn was, that's your girl. You got to keep her in check. So that part I didn't understand, but I did hear some things, some weird things about Q and stuff like that. I never heard that he woke up with cameras over him and all that, because I never investigated what the weird stuff was. I just heard that him and Dawn was into some weird shit. She had piercings all over her body and she got him to pierce his body and stuff like that. But I never heard like that they had got drugged up and drugged out, shit like that. But I did hear what he said about me. And that was basically it. He was upset with me because he felt like I should have stepped to him before me and Dawn got close like that.
Right. And Dawn is actually suing Diddy for, I believe, sexual assault.
Right.
Did you see any interactions between Diddy and Dawn, or?
No, I didn't see anything. I seen Puff yell. I seen Puff scream. That's what he did when they was in the choreography. The closest thing I seen to was when he threw the chair at Lorianne Gibson. You know what I'm saying? Inside the choreography, and Lorianne quit. But of course, she quit for 2 or 3 years too, and then she ended up coming back. You know what I'm saying?
And this is what his defense is trying to kind of focus on, is that you have these women who claim they get raped, claim that they get abused and so forth. But then there's text messages saying, oh, I really want to be friends again. I'm sorry, I was wrong. What can I do for us to be friends again? I miss you. You're my best friend. I love you. Please take me back and so forth. So they're like, well, you're saying this, well, you say you got raped, but the next day y'all are cool again. Like, it's, and the excuse is, well, we had to do it. We had kids to, so forth. But I don't know, man. If you rape me, I'm not going to be cool with you afterwards.
The rape part, I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The rape part, I don't understand. But the manipulative part, he's the manipulative giant. He's the king of manipulating you. He'll give you compliments. He'll send you stuff. He'll do things. He'll make you feel like you need it. Now, if he can do that to a man, I imagine what he can do to a woman, right? Now, the rape part, I could never understand. Because I just was growing up that if that type of violation happened, there's nothing you could say or do. But like the throwing the chair, Lorianne Gibson, the throwing the computer at Sarah, the different things like that, life hits you. And when life hits you, you find out that you still got bills to pay. You still got all type of shit hitting you. But if I get with Puff, I'll be able to take it as, yeah, that happened, but maybe it won't happen again. You know what I'm saying? So that part I believe in. Like when Lorianne left for 2-3 years, her gigs wasn't as hot. And like it's like Puff is the king of knowing that I'm not gonna pay you top dollar, but I'm consistently gonna keep you working. And people start to overlook what they're getting paid for consistently working. The same way I took 5%, but at this particular time, Puff is getting booked. 5% of Super Bowl weekend is $100,000 a day. That's 3 days. That's $300,000 at one time for Super Bowl weekend, for All-Star weekend, for Memorial weekend. So you say 5% of that is a lot more than you would make somewhere else. So Puff knows, he knows that. And that's what he takes advantage of.
What was Puffy's relationship with Jay-Z? Because, there's that lawsuit from Tony Busby.
Okay.
Where the girl who claimed she was 15, she was raped by Puffy and Jay-Z.
Right.
And, at one point, number one, Jay-Z said this is nonsense.
Right.
The girl, a bunch of stuff she was saying just was impossible. She was saying how, the group Good Charlotte was there, and they're like, we weren't even at that event. We were touring in the Midwest. And her own father even said that this is nonsense. Like, I would have remembered these instances. We lived 3 hours away. I would remember a 6-hour drive.
Right.
But what was interesting was that Jay-Z's camp basically put out a statement saying that Jay and Puff are not friends and they're not close at all or whatever else. Did you see the two of them interact a lot?
I seen them interact, but I wouldn't say they was close. I believe Puff felt they was close.
Oh.
But if you was a person on the outside looking in, like me and Uncle Paulie used to always talk about it, me and D-Rock was talking about, yo, why Puff kind of like sucking Jay off so much? You know what I'm saying? Because you'd be like, we done flew to 5 or 6, 7 different concerts that Jay-Z has. But Jay-Z is not at one of Puff's shows. You know what I'm saying? You look at the Rock brunch where Puff will break his neck to get to the brunch, but Jay-Z don't pop up at any of Puff parties. Now I can only speak up until 2012. You know what I'm saying? And Puff was breaking his neck. Like, at the end of the day, in our mind, we say, yo, he ain't even invite Puff to his wedding. When he married Beyonce, Steve Stout and all of them was there. You know what I'm saying? And Puff was kind of in his feelings, but once again.
Oh, Puff was upset he didn't get invited to the wedding?
Of course he was.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? But you got to remember, we're security, so we're bottom on a tote pole. So he's not going to show you that it really affects him until you have a little conversation with him, or you say something, or you overhear something. But he didn't get invited to that, Yeah, Jay came through every once in a while. Like if we was in a yacht in San Tropez or one of these places like that, Jay might ride up. You know what I'm saying? And it's more or less to show, yeah, I got a yacht too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm out here too. More or less than we're tight friends. I look at it as two people that's getting money because they did have some businesses together. And we did have to go to some meetings together. And it was like, this is how far it goes, but we're not friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, people ask me that all the time. I be like, Jay ain't really fuck with Puff. It was no personal into it. It would be like if Ron Burgos is flying from LA on his jet, but Jay-Z just so happens to be going to New York too. We all end up on the jet, flying back, those type of things, but nothing to go out his way into. If we in a club, you might be downtown at bed or something like that. Jay-Z might be there, so they end up at the same table, you know what I'm saying? And it was times where I listen to the records now where Jay-Z said, yo, why should I drink Ciroc when why should I drink Grey Goose when Puff got Ciroc? This is something new that just started happening because I remember we almost got into a big altercation with Pecos and them because...
Or Sean Pecos?
Yeah, because Puff was there and Jay and them was there and they had a bunch of Grey Goose bottles come to the table. And Puff felt like, yo, that was disrespectful. And he knocked over the Grey Goose bottles, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
I think I heard about this.
Fuck y'all niggas doing that for, yo, da-da-da-da-da-da. But Jay didn't care, you know what I'm saying? Like... and Pecos came back to the house and explained to self, da-da-da-da-da. I was eavesdropping and airdropping, because like I said, Puff is always ready to fight. You know what I'm saying? But, Emery had just came home and this, that, and the other like that, and they ordered Grey Goose bottles. And like, why you got 10 Grey Goose bottles coming to the table if I'm right here at the table and I got Ciroc? So there's a lot of different things that don't add up that they show you. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to one of Jay-Z records where he said, yo, I'm sorry, homie, I had to do it at the beginning of his record, you wouldn't know that that's the same beat that Puff sent to Jay-Z to do his record. But if you listen to The Last Train to Paris, you hear the same beat on one of Puff records. Jay turned around and did a record off of the same beat. You didn't see him run up on Jay and smack Jay and this, that, other. You wouldn't know the subliminal shit unless you're there. So when he said, yo, I'm sorry, homie, I had to do it, he's actually talking to Puff because it's the same beat of the record that you asked me to make for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's little things, if you're on the inside, you'll know that they're not that close.
Well, Gene Deal, who I've interviewed before, and I have said some of the stuff he says is true, some of the stuff I feel has been made up. Were you there when Gene Deal was there?
No, I wasn't there when Gene was before me. Gene was in the Kim Porter, the Misa days.
Okay. But you guys have discussed Gene Deal.
Yeah.
How did those discussions go? Meaning you and Puff.
I mean, those discussions, it wasn't never just me and Puff. It was us and security, this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, man, y'all ain't seen Gene? And in reality, we did see Gene. We all from Harlem. But Puff wasn't running around Harlem like that. So me and Paulie and them would never tell him when we seen Gene. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't really give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, yo, if y'all see Gene, I'm telling y'all, man, somebody better punch him in the face. Somebody better do something to him, man. He out here doing this, that. And we'd be like, all right.
Okay, so when was this? Because was Gene doing interviews at this point?
Yeah, we talking like 2008, 2009. Gene was spreading the word. You know, Gene was always bad-mouthing Gene.
Wait, hold on. Vlad TV started in 2008, 2009. YouTube was really early.
No,
at that
he
point.
wasn't doing YouTube and stuff. He was going around talking a lot of shit. And we all from Harlem. So he was just talking a lot of shit. And it's a small, Harlem is small.
So what was Gene Deal saying during that time? What did you hear?
He basically was talking about Puff fighting women, hitting women, shit that was going on with him and Kim. Puff being gay, you know, shit with him and Usher and shit like that. He was talking the same shit that he's talking now on a major scale, but he was spreading it around Harlem.
Okay.
So it was basically a thing where, yo, if y'all see that nigga, man, I'm telling y'all better hear he got hands put on him, this, that, and the other. But we seen him, you know what I'm saying? But we still living in Harlem. He's not living in Harlem. We still living there, so we're bumping to him. You know, we're bumping to him at the bank. There was a couple of times we bumped into him in the street. This, that. We ain't had no real beef with him, but we would act like it when we was around Puff because that's what he want to hear. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but Puff was never with you guys when you guys saw Gene Deal.
Nah,
So
never.
So you guys were just...
That's why we just was like, nah, we ain't seen him.
Huh.
Same thing with Mark Curry. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yo,
Mark Curry was running his mouth about Puff.
he had the book out since 2009, 2010. So I'm telling y'all.
Dancing with the Devil, I think.
Yeah. If y'all see him, y'all better put hands on him, this, that, and the other. When Uncle Paulie said he seen Mark, he said he seen him, he closed the door and he locked the door and everything. It was him and some other security dudes. And he asked Mark, he said, yo, why you doing this, yo? He said, man, I got to take care of my family. And Paul told him, okay, that's all I wanted to hear, yo. He ain't tell Puff about it. You know what I'm saying? But he said, yo, if you doing it to take care of your family, man, take care of your family. But this is the type of stuff that we ain't go back and tell Puff. You know what I'm saying? You know, because we know that you a piece of shit at the end of the day, to be honest with you. It's just that we need a job.
Well, final question. We're in the middle of the trial right now.
Right.
From your point of view, how's it looking?
It's not looking too good. I think they proved everything they need to prove. I think everything else right now is just lock and load. You know what I'm saying? From listening to everything that they got to say, I do agree that some of the things are everyday things, like what we talked about with the parties and people paying the first half. You know, that shit that everybody does as an artist. You know what I'm saying? So I think the same way we talked about sex trafficking, you know what I'm saying? I've always been an advocate with Puff on that one because I never believed he had the sex traffic. But if you look up what sex traffic actually means, yeah, you can charge him with it. You know what I'm saying? If you look into technical stuff. You know what I'm saying? But the everyday, so you gotta, in reality, you gotta lock up not just any artist, but you gotta lock up anybody that's getting money.
Right.
Because anybody that's getting money flies a person to where they at.
Right.
And ends up having sex with them and stuff like that.
Right. And not because they're trying to traffic them, but because, I'm busy. I don't have time to go out to Tennessee right now and spend a couple of days with you. I don't have any business out there.
Right.
Why don't you come out to LA or New York? I'll put you in a hotel where you can kick it. I'll fly you back.
Right.
We're probably going to be having sex. I'm probably going to give you some money.
Right.
Send you back happy, and we can go from there. That's not sex trafficking. That's not prostitution.
Right.
It's typical, situationships.
Exactly.
That we all go with, me included. I've had these over the years. Like,
Exactly.
It just is what it is.
You give a girl money because you ain't got time to be with them all day, so you be like, yo, here, go shopping.
Here's, go shopping. Here's some money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm paying for the Ubers. I'm paying for the flights. I'm paying for the hotels. I'm paying for the meals.
Right.
Is that prostitution?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? According to the feds, it kind of is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So that's what I say. If you get technical, then you could say, when you playing it at his level, because a lot of people feel like they don't have no choice but to do it. What he did with Cassie, to me, absolutely wrong. There's no excuse. There's no reason. Anything else that they charged him with, I don't know his business the way that the feds do. I don't know what videos and stuff they found in there to know what they actually have and stuff like that. But on everyday basis, from what they say, I would say labor, you definitely forced labor. You know what I'm saying? 100%. You know what I'm saying? The weapons, you know what I'm saying? So I do find things in there that they could say, he's not going to go home. Even if you don't find him guilty of RICO, you're going to find him guilty of something on there that doesn't allow him to come home.
Yeah, what I think will happen is this. And look, personally, the beginning I said, well, I think that he's going to beat the RICO. He's going to beat the trafficking. He might get hit with the prostitution charges. They might give him a few years, 3, 4, 5 years at the most. And, you scrape off the 85%, you scrape off the time served, and, a few years from now, he'll be home. But you're right.
We had that discussion too.
Yeah, we've had this discussion. And, but you're right. You get more and more, you're throwing the kidnapping, you're throwing the guns, there could be a superseding indictment over the scratched off serial numbers. There is, the drugs, that there's, breaking into homes and everything else like that. You're using employees to engage in illegal activities, and it could, possibly be viewed a certain type of way. But what I'm starting to think now is that the bigger plan is, okay, look, we're going to go through this. We're probably going to lose, but we're already talking to Trump right now about the pardon. Mm-hmm. And they actually even asked Trump recently. Right. They're like, would you pardon Diddy? He goes, well, I don't know. I'll have to look into it if he's being mistreated. What does that mean? Mistreated.
I used to go to Trump office with Puff all the time.
Really?
And
how many times have you been with Trump and Puffy?
5 times.
5 times?
At least 5 times.
At least 5 times.
The same guy that's his head of security now, the bald-headed, tall, Caucasian guy. That always runs to him when something is up there. Me and him used to sit down in front of the office and talk. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, how's Puffy, man? How's Trump? Yo, this, that, other, yo.
Oh, you and Trump security would be talking.
Yeah, okay, we would be talking because they would be together for hours. You know what I'm saying?
Were you actually in the room or no?
No, I wasn't in the room with them. Me and him would be in front of the door.
Got
Whatever business they was talking, but he had an office right there on 5th Avenue in the building right there. He had an office right there. And him and Puff, I would always go over there with him. And him would be in there for hours, whatever they was investing in or talking about, blah, blah, blah. But I would take him to the Trump Hotel, him and Cassie all the time. That was one of the places that they always went.
I saw Puffy and Polly walking into the Trump Hotel one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah, right there across from Central Park.
From Central Park, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in which Puff lives 2 blocks away from there. You know what I'm saying? On 55th and Broadway.
Yeah.
So... why are you going there for the weekend? Now we know why.
know.
Him and Trump was really, really close. And that's why it kind of surprised me when Trump went the way that he did and Puff started going so hard against him. And I know right now he's wishing
Puff
that
was going against Trump?
Oh yeah, he went really hard on him. They got video out there where they say, yo, we gotta stop this man. This man is that doing if he becomes president, we're doomed and this and that and the other. And I said to myself, I said, I know he mad he made that video now. He did that commercial and stuff like that.
Hold on. I think 50 actually posted this recently. Hold on. Let me watch.
Trump gets elected.
Exactly.
I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. That's why this message is not just to black people. You know what I'm saying? This message is to everybody. You know, this man is really trying to turn us against each other and put us in a situation. America messed up.
You know what I'm saying? So seeing that now, you know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that 50 brought up to Trump.
Yeah, he just brought up just the other day.
You're going to do that and he was talking about you. But I honestly feel like Trump is the type of person that won't take that to heart.
No.
You know what I'm
you
saying?
could diss Trump, and if
Yeah.
he gets a use out of you later on, he'll just forget about it.
And he's I wouldn't say this is his last term being president. He
No, that's
can't
it.
run no more.
Yeah,
so
that's it, 2
whatever
terms.
he's do now, same thing with Jimmy Henchman. You know what I'm saying? Where he promised Jimmy Henchman clemency.
Did he?
Yeah, he promised Jimmy Henchman clemency.
Hasn't happened?
Yeah, it hasn't happened. But if you look up, if you go to Spotify and look up, if you just press up Jimmy Henchman and Trump right now, it'll pop right up. He actually spoke to his lawyer and told his lawyer on the phone he'll be home by Christmas. But then January 6th happened, and Jimmy Henchman was dressed, gave away all his stuff to the other inmates and everything. His family was across the street waiting for him to come out. But when the January 6th thing happened, he never went through it.
Yep.
So
I see it. Yeah. He reportedly agreed to commute his sentence in December 2020 during a phone call with Jim Brown. And it was going to happen, but it never did. You're right. I think the January 6th kind of threw it for a loop. And Jimmy Henchman is still doing, I think, double life.
Yeah. And he told me that he had him this time. You know, Mike Tyson actually spoke to Trump and put Trump on the phone.
Really?
And he told him that, and this I heard from Jimmy himself. And
Yeah, I know Jimmy. I've done interviews with him.
yeah, he told him I got you this time, but I see that he just did a lot of
Pardons.
just now, and I seen Jimmy wasn't in there neither.
Well, yeah, listen. Trump has pardoned Kodak Black and NBA Youngboy.
Yeah.
2 of the biggest drug addicts in hip hop, essentially.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and this is not just me talking. This is
But I'm gonna be honest with you, they didn't have no real time anyway.
right.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't take a life off of somebody.
No, you're right. No,
You
you're
know
right.
what I mean?
And but no, he's done some pretty major pardons. There was the guy who did Silk Road. You know about that?
No.
Silk Road was basically a dark web website where people could buy bombs, drugs,
Oh, okay.
human trafficking.
Okay.
You know, like you could basically buy anything.
Okay.
You know, missile launchers, tanks, like whatever. And the guy that put it together got, I think, like 30 years in prison. And Trump just pardoned him right when he came into office.
Okay.
You
He
know?
also pardoned everybody from January 6th.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to say, okay, I'm going to throw him a bone and let some of these people out, but I'm really letting all my people out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he
no,
let
look.
the Christies out too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I was happy about that because
Yeah?
that's my boy and that's my show.
Oh, you like that show?
Yeah, I like that show,
Okay.
man. They funny. They the funniest, yo.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, and I've had conversations with people about this, I think that before Trump leaves office, he's going to free Diddy. I think that's the plan. I think Diddy already has $100 million put aside for Trump's whatever shell corporation or whatever else where he can't be directly tied to him, you know, whatever, one of his relatives, one of his kids. And that money is going to get transferred over and he's going to sign, because it's a Fed case.
Right.
Trump could do that.
Right. He
You know,
could
'cause, I mean,
definitely
Trump
do
just pardoned Larry Hoover. Let's not
Right.
forget him.
Right. But you got to also realize he pardoned Larry Hoover from the feds. But
Yeah.
Larry Hoover also had
He got
200 years in the state.
He has 200 years. So
But
he's-
they said that the state was already worked out already and the state didn't want him. So he's supposed to be coming home this week. If you
Really?
look- if you look it up, it'll tell you that the state didn't want him.
Oh, but doesn't he have to be,
that's supposed to be.
Doesn't he have to be pardoned by the governor in the state?
I don't, not too
That's what I
sure,
heard.
but I know the Fed thing was what was really holding because the state had already said that they didn't want him.
I don't know. 2 days ago, Larry Hoover's wife wrote an open letter to the governor to try to get her husband out, but I don't know. I'm not seeing what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not true because, you're plugged in. I'm not saying that.
No.
I'm just
That was something that I had just read. You know what I'm saying? But either way, you got to remember, he was in that jail that was underground with no type of...
Oh, yeah, he was a supermax.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even to go to the state now...
Is a win.
You could get conjugal visits. You could get everything else like that. So even that's a win. At 78.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, well, that's what it is. Roger Bonds, man, another great interview. And actually, before I let you leave, your shirt is very important.
Very important.
Yeah, let's talk about that before I let you
Very important, man.
Yeah.
It's my son. This is this shirt was made for the 50th anniversary of hip hop because it's a lot of brothers that's in hip hop, just period, all over the world who come up in the urban life, who's been to jail and everything like that, and who kids are going through the same thing. So I thought it was kind of important for me to put them both together, you know what I'm saying? Which is Kevin Townsend, my son, locked up in Namibia. Now he's been there 15 years. He just got convicted last year and got 29 years. And the whole thing is just with no evidence or nothing. The judge is so biased that he doesn't even want to give him the 15 years that he served.
Oh, he's not giving time served?
He's not giving him the 15 years time served. He's saying that he got to start the 29 years from the day that he got the 29 years, not 15 years ago. So it's just a whole bunch. I wish I could write Trump about that and get his help about that. So if Trump see this, which Vlad, I hope he does because your platform is so
I know,
big.
Trump has reposted my videos before.
Yeah.
Trump actually posted my Sammy the Bull interview talking about him on his official Truth Social account.
Okay, so
and
maybe
his
he'll look
official
into
Instagram
it.
account. Yeah, so Trump has posted Vlad TV interviews before.
Okay, so that's a blessing.
Yeah,
If
he
Trump
might see
could
it.
just look into it, or if Kim Kardashian, people write me about Kim all the time. I don't know how strong she is out there, but it's just about what's right and what's wrong as being an American citizen. But he's alive, he's well, he dropped 2 books already. You could look it up, Kevin Townsend, The Most High, on YouTube and he's Amazon, I mean. And, he's alive and he's well and his spirits is up. And he feels like he'll be home soon.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I know.
And you got to make sure you wear your shirt, man.
Yeah.
And everybody, these DM me for these T-shirts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hip Hop Fathers.
Yeah, Hip Hop Fathers, man.
Yeah, man.
Justice for Kevin. That's what it is.
Roger Bonds, man. Appreciate you coming in. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.